Hey, podcast friends. If you love our podcast and want to help support us to continue making cool shit, consider joining our Patreon community. Get early access to each episode, a monthly hangout on Zoom, custom answers to your questions in exclusive Patreon videos, and much, much more. Head on over to patreon.com/conversationswithcreators to become a patron today. Your support means the world to us. Now on to the episode.
If you're new to the platform, it's easy. Go to your feed, look for content that's relevant to what you want to do. And don't just comment on that author's post or whatever if you found value, and or provide your own little advice or guidance or your take on it. And that's what I did for the first few months, is just really engaging more. I mean, to be honest, and still to this day, I comment on a lot more than what I post and what I share. Why? Because you got to nurture those relationships, right? Just like, in real life, you got to interact with other people.
Be social on the social media.
Yes.
What results have you seen from your kind of effort on LinkedIn in the last year or so?
Yeah, I mean, literally all my business comes from LinkedIn. Obviously referrals.
So the big question is this: how are creators like us, who aren't built for the 9-to-5, for the people who put their passion before them being comfortable, how do we turn that passion into a living that pays the bills and a life that we love? That is the question. This podcast will give you the answers. My name is Noah Mittman, and welcome to Conversations with Creators. I am so excited. On the show today is David Alto. He provides resume, LinkedIn interview coaching, and specializes in getting your resume past the evil resume bots on LinkedIn. His position statement is advancing business with personal solutions. Thank you so much for being on the show, David.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. I have a lot to live up to, battling resume bots, you said, so we'll talk about that too. So.
I've never even heard of a resume bot, so we definitely need to get into that. So how'd you get into all this? What is your kind of background? How'd you find your way to LinkedIn?
Sure. I was a district manager in the retail world for a very long time. In early 2019, I was really afraid of, our company was going to sell that I worked for. We were afraid we were going to franchise. And you know what? I needed to get back on LinkedIn again and really be in control of my career, right? Looking for another job. So that's why I got back on LinkedIn on early 2019. And, I've always provided some resume advice and wrote resumes kind of on the side, never for any money, just helping out people. And LinkedIn gave me a good platform to just share some best practices, right? And so that's all I did for the first, 6, 7, 8 months, really aggressive on LinkedIn, just sharing anything and everything that I was a subject matter expert at. Sometimes resumes, sometimes interviews, sometimes literally whatever.
Yeah.
And I learned that, when you provide value, people want to follow you. And I just kind of grew.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. And then I finally charged somebody, right? Because they said, hey, you provided me really some great stuff here. So, I charged them. And then in August of 2019, really started trying to, do this, see where this was going to go. And then finally, my day job got in the way in December of 2019 of me doing this. So I left my day job in 2019 to do this full time. And
there you go.
Months later, here we are.
That's awesome. Sweet. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like the online space has really let you become who you want to be and who you were kind of meant to. It sounds like it was kind of a leap that worked for you.
Yeah. Again, I wasn't even looking for it. And I think that's why maybe I had some success. I built some followers instead of just starting from scratch, right? And I knew that I couldn't leave my day job until I realized that, I might be able, to generate some money doing this. So that was tough. Working 55 plus hours a week in my day job and putting another 20 plus into, providing some value. But I had to, because I had to make sure that again, that I could sustain this over time. And like I said, year plus later, things are going great. And I'm just so grateful for the platform and the amazing people that are willing to provide help and guidance without asking for anything in return. So I try to give back as well too.
So what have been kind of some takeaways of, as the title says, do's and don'ts for LinkedIn that have really worked, or to stay away from over that, amount of time? Because it sounds like you've really been in the trenches on this and can have some insights on that.
Sure. So, when it comes to posting, when you're new, you don't know what you're doing, you get 2 views. And of course, you get 2 comments, one's from a friend and one's from a colleague, right? And they just give you
the your mom.
Yeah. So you have to stay the course. And, I wish I would have known some stuff back in the day, like when you post, you want to use about 3 to 9 hashtags per post. And the very first 3 that you use need to be followed by millions, because if they're not, and we all have maybe our own little hashtag that we want to use that maybe that other people follow, that, so people that I use a hashtag best week ever for people that really want to follow all of my content, but it's not followed by millions. But you use those kind of on the tail end, because only about 1% of all people on LinkedIn are active. 1% of 750 some million or whatever. Yeah. So if you don't use hashtags that are followed by a lot of people, there's a good chance that it might not get seen.
And that's very similar to Instagram and TikTok, where putting the right hashtag in gets you into that space.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great. No, I love that. I'm going to be using that on my stuff now, because I've really been only using about 4, maybe tops, and I think only one of them, maybe like hashtag entrepreneur, is even followed by that is like millions.
Sure, and I would want you to use those other ones just after those.
Yeah, no, I like that. So get the attention of like a wide net, and then grow your specific niche after that.
Yeah. And, if you're new to the platform, it's easy. Go to your feed, look for content that's relevant to what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And don't just comment on, on that author's post or whatever, if you found value, or provide your own little advice or guidance on, or your take on it. And that's what I did for the first few months, is just really engaging more. To be honest, and still to this day, I comment on a lot more than what I post and what I share. Why? Because you got to nurture those relationships, right? Just like, in real life, you got to interact with other people.
Be social on the social media.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it sounds like you're kind of posting a lot and doing the like $1.80 strategy on LinkedIn, adding your 2 cents to a bunch of, relevant hashtags within your niche.
Oh yeah. And that's a great way to, I follow Gary Vee, a few other, influencers, right? And, when I see a post that I really like, I'll comment on it, right? But that's a great way to get some attention too, because, follow, lots of, hundreds of thousands of views and tons of comments. And that's a great way for you to get maybe noticed, or find some other people that are to connect to as well.
Yeah. No, I think I agree. I think even commenting on a bigger influencer's post, and if you make a good point or ask a good question, that can bring some people over to you, because they're getting, obviously the algorithm really is favoring them, but you can kind of build off of their momentum with a good, especially because I think there's a few influencers that actually don't get a ton of comments. There's a lot of likes, but there's maybe, so maybe there's, 1,000 likes, but there's only like 20 to 50 comments. So you could really stand out in the comment space with that. Nope, I think David froze for a sec. We'll get him back. I may have to edit this out if there's too long of a pause. Oh, there we go.
That was just a commercial break. I hope everyone enjoyed that commercial.
Brought to you by the buffer circle. No, exactly right. I love that. So I mean, really, I think it's just the general rule of all social is get out there and get into your space and get active. And no, I think, yeah, I need to do more. I've been posting a fair amount now on LinkedIn, but getting out and getting into the, spending half hour-ish a day, hour a day on commenting on the space. It sounds like that's been really successful for you.
Oh yeah. And you know what? And I've met so many good friends. I call them friends because, maybe I don't see them in person because they live in New York and I'm way over here in Washington State, and some of them I've met in person, during my travels, but, it is a great way to connect with others. And you know what? Don't be so narrow-minded that you're only going to connect with people in your industry. Because to be honest, most of my friends that I consider friends on LinkedIn do nothing remotely of what I do. So again, it does not have to be, if you're a project manager with Amazon, you don't need to only connect with people that are project managers or work at Amazon.
Yeah.
Get out of your bubble, get out of your comfort zone.
This just brought up a good question for me. Do you recommend, so you start with the bigger hashtags on your posts.
Sure.
Do you recommend for commenting going into the smaller hashtags that are more niche specific for you first, or starting with the larger audience?
I start with the larger audience, as long as you're going to find some that still are somewhat relevant to what you do.
Yeah.
And I even tested it out one weekend, a month or two ago. For 24 hours, I posted every hour. But every hour, I used 4 different hashtags.
Different hashtags for each post.
Every post.
Huh.
And but every hour, it was just referencing the first post. So really, but what happened over that time, I grew 3,000 followers within that 24 hours. Do you know why?
Wow.
Because think about it. I used about 100 different hashtags within that 24 hours.
Yeah.
So potentially different people. But I grew 3,000 followers not within that 24 hours, because people saw that post later. But within about a week, I grew 3,000 followers.
That's awesome.
And I tried it again and it didn't work. So LinkedIn gets onto you when you try.
They're smart.
But I just wanted to try it just because I wanted to see what would happen. And again, and that just goes to show that, again, maybe not using always the same hashtags.
Yeah.
Because you want a different audience. And just because somebody's following this hashtag doesn't mean that they don't want to see your content, or that means they want to. And listen, for me, it's not about numbers, but it is. The more followers that you have, obviously, the more influence, the more potential business or whatever you're trying to do on LinkedIn. So again.
Hey friends, it's your podcast buddy, Noah Midman here. And I want to talk to you a little bit today about one of my passion projects, my clothing brand, Clothing for Creators. Roll the tape.
If my life were a movie, the hero's big speech would end with, "Stop waiting, start creating." Because that's the drive behind my story. Like when I couldn't afford to finish film school. So instead, I started my own production company and gave myself a trial by fire YouTube business degree. And it's not just me with these kinds of stories. There is this growing movement of passionate, creative, flow state writing, hustling, persistent creators and entrepreneurs that are taking the internet and the world by storm.
Everybody told me I wasn't going to be able to make any money as an artist. Now, 15 years later, I've worked on 3 continents. I do own my house. My shop, I'm booked out 8 months ahead. I don't subscribe to being a starving artist.
Creativity and I are very deep, dark lovers. I've just decided I'm just going to make stuff. And even if it's not perfect, it's getting made.
You're going to think that there's right answers and there's not. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Let's just throw dye on it and it'll look great.
You don't need rules some old guy in a suit made up. You don't need anyone telling you that your voice doesn't matter. We are makers, creative types, side hustlers, doers. Why? Because we get shit done.
The most important thing every single day is just to get your shit done.
Just keep doing it, keep producing, keep creating, and as you do that, you're going to start becoming the person that you want to be.
Don't be scared to try. Commit. You can't half-ass do something. We're full-ass around here.
So there's a film you need to make, a company you need to create, a voice you need to share, a product you know the world needs. Put all of yourself into it until anyone who has ever doubted you starts asking you for a job. Then you get to play for a living. You get to create community, partnerships, collaborations, building bonds with people that like the same stuff you like. You get to live with your heart on your sleeve, a smile on your face, and a solid answer to when anybody asks, why do you do what you do?
Sometimes you have to say fuck all the rules to get something that you really need to get out of yourself.
You don't need the opinion of the old guy in the suit.
You have to give yourself permission to just go. A little less conversation, a little more action.
Clothing for creators. Go check out snowmanfilms.shop today.
Hey there, fellow creatives. Conversations with Creators dives deep into the minds of successful filmmakers, artists, musicians, and all-around awesome people. We are looking for some kick-ass sponsors to help us keep this show on the road. If you want to reach a tribe of dedicated listeners who are just as passionate about creating as you are, then look no further. Our audience is full of people who appreciate a good laugh and are always on the lookout for new ways to fuel their creativity. So, let's team up and create some magic together. We'll work with you to make sure that your brand is showcased in the best light possible. And who knows, maybe we'll even become lifelong friends. Just imagine, years from now, we'll be reminiscing about the good old days when we first teamed up to take the world by storm. Send us an email at noah@snowmanfilms.net to say hey and get the ball rolling. Now back to the episode.
I don't necessarily connect with everybody, but you could have a limited amount of followers.
Yeah,
and your reach is definitely better.
Well, that's the social equation is, that's how many people can be paying attention to your stuff, because that's the game. That's how much attention are you getting? How many eyes and ears are you getting? That's why we're on social, especially if you're growing a business, is the promotion side, is to get our stuff out there and build that audience so that success comes from having the audience. Because you give that audience a call to action, and then hopefully a fair amount of them take it. Are there any, because we on just staying on the topic of hashtags for a little bit, are there any resources that you use to find really good hashtags, or is it just kind of like, oh, I think this word might work?
Well, I'm lucky enough that every couple times a year, a great friend of mine on LinkedIn provides me a list of, he tracks them.
Oh, wow.
But you can go into the search bar and just, use the hashtag, the number symbol, and then that word, and see, and maybe write some down. And that's really the easiest. But look at what other influencers or what others are using. All you have to do is click on the hashtag. It'll tell you how many millions of people, and then jot a few down. But don't be afraid, again, to use others that maybe aren't remotely, doing what you do, to mix it up, to get more different, unique guys.
No, I like that. In fact, maybe even because I'm all about kind of strategy and actionable, what you can do day to day. Even changing up. So you say you have, let's say you're playing with 9 or 8 or whatever. The first 4 that are bigger, you can play with changing up and changing around. And then the second 4 that are your niche specifically, you can keep the same so that you're always in that feed.
That's a very good strategy. Very good. Because there's going to be people that always want to see your content. And, tell people, hey, then follow this particular, hashtag. Yeah. And that one's probably not going to blow up, but those are people that want to continue to for sure, see your content. So,
talk about, if you're, that's a bingeable way to do it. That's eventually that can be when I'm on, a year from now, after I've done consistent posting for a solid couple of years, having that bank of stuff that is pretty much just my stuff only, they can go through and binge as much as they want just by following that hashtag.
Oh, yes. No,
it's how hashtags work.
That's right. And over time, that's what it's just going to compound.
That's your library.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I love that. No, that's great. And then how many, I mean, it sounds like obviously you did the 24-hour thing. Normally, how much do you post per week, say, on LinkedIn?
Sure.
Or per day?
10, probably 10, at least 1 to 2 a day, depending, unless something just sparks my interest and I post.
Yeah.
Other people have different approaches, but you listen, nobody's going to see every piece of your content.
Right.
Well, why not post every day? Because again, not everybody's going to see it, and maybe there's a couple of people out there that just follow you or whatever, nice stalkers, right? That see your content every day. But listen, we need to stay relevant. So, I mean, Coca-Cola doesn't post one commercial a month, right? They post consistently.
Right. And
you know what? Listen, it's like a commercial. If somebody doesn't want to watch it, they change the channel or, hit pause, turn down the volume or whatever. So again, do what you're comfortable doing, obviously.
Yeah.
But eventually you'll get to the point where you're posting. So listen, yes, usually the mornings are the best. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings get the most traction. But 10 p.m. at night on the Pacific Coast might be the morning of somebody else. So it really depends on where your audience is, or if you want to create audiences over the, all around the world, then you post multiple different times of the day. So my best posts, most interaction, most content has been once maybe I've done, later in the day.
Yeah. And then what is your spread of video content to photo content to written? Like how much do you do different stuff?
Sure. So for a while it was maybe 3 to 4 videos a week. Polls are getting a lot of traction. I did a poll the other day. I think it had about 10,000 views within about a day and a half, maybe.
Wow.
Lots of interaction, lots of voting. Those little slider or carousel ones where you have multiple photos that you can slide through, those are gaining a lot of traction. So I just really mix it up.
I've been seeing the carousels a lot lately, actually.
Oh yeah. And they get a lot of traction because as long as you don't have, 50, photos, if you have 5 to 10 and people click through all of them, then LinkedIn says, hey, these must be, popular. If you put 50 and somebody stops at, slide 5 or 10 or whatever, then LinkedIn doesn't think maybe it's, all that interesting. So listen, I don't think anybody on LinkedIn ever understands everything about the algorithms and what's working. So I always say, just experiment, put what you want out there. 6 months from now, maybe video will take off again. But right now I'm seeing where, text only, or maybe a simple photo with some text.
Yeah.
But if you're going to include video, don't put a lot of content in your post. Text, because you want them. Don't give it away.
Go all the way down to see it. Yeah.
Make them watch the darn video, right? So yeah, just, experiment, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And, again, just right now, polls and definitely the little slider carousel presentations are getting a lot of traction.
Absolutely. That's really good because it also changes up. Like you're not just video, you're being more interactive. I'm gonna try that out because I'm a heavily video guy, so it's definitely good.
Yeah, I want to watch because I want to see you or whomever talk about that subject matter. As long as the video is not terribly long, I that's how I want to interact. So I really enjoy the videos, and who knows why they're not getting as much traction.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of brings up for me because I'm also in the kind of creating for multiple platforms idea. I'll make a video and it goes out to LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. So I'm not going to stop making the videos because there's other video platforms that need it. But maybe doing, if you say like a couple posts a day and they're, people are only going to see a couple things, doing a video version and then a carousel version of your post. It's funny. I've realized in the past couple of months, like nobody is going to be pissed that they see your stuff multiple times. Like even if it's, say you do a post on LinkedIn and then they happen to see you on Instagram too, and it's the same post, they're gonna be like, oh, I've already seen this. What the hell? They'll be like, oh, like this is a really, like they're driving this home. Okay. Like this is their post for today. So multiple posts on the same subject is fine. Okay. And especially if you can play with like, what's getting better traction. That's, this is where the work comes in for sure. But no, it's good. Like I think honestly, LinkedIn, and I think for business wise, I can see where the leads are coming and that the following starting to grow. That's another thing I think for LinkedIn is in terms of like paying attention to what influencers are doing is, seeing the carousel, seeing the types of content they're posting, seeing, how can you kind of remix and do your own thing on it. Like it's getting in there and playing, and it's some effort, but that's really how much. Actually, this is perfect. So we'll kind of have the tactics here. You've kind of gone through this now and you've been good at this. What results have you seen from your kind of effort on LinkedIn in the last year or so?
Yeah, I mean, literally all my business comes from LinkedIn. That were, obviously referrals, but over time now, just some of my connections, maybe I've Zoomed with them, maybe I haven't, maybe I've just, connect with them on LinkedIn for the last year or two, then, people, if you provide enough, tips and guidance, those other influencers are going to see you as providing value. I mean, now people, come to me and say, hey, will you be on, will you do this little influencer summit and talk about the resume bots for, like 15 minutes? It still baffles me because I'm very humble. I'm like, sure, I'll do it. But, look, in my previous career, because I did it a long time, I'm a subject matter expert, right? Because I did it for a long time. This is still, I guess somewhat new, for me. I still have a hard time of saying, okay, but listen.
Sounds like imposter syndrome to me. You got this.
I still struggle. Well, that's because in my previous career, it was always about my teams.
Yeah.
Okay. My teams got the results, right? So I didn't really pat myself on the back. I took ownership like a coach. I took ownership when we didn't do well, but when we did amazing, it was because of them. Yep. So I have that mentality still, and that's why maybe I struggle to say, okay, yeah, maybe I'm good. But listen, over time, again, now people, send me, oh my God, you got to use Dave. Dave's really good at this. I see his stuff all the time. Yeah. I haven't used him, but I guarantee you, I recommend him. So, but now I can recommend other people just because, again, because of the network that you build. And that is the power of LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is a very giving community. People want to help others. And there, I just, the mighty dollar.
And what's cool too, I think, is that it's not only a giving community, but it's a giving community of decision makers. It's really, that's the thing with LinkedIn is it is high level people that understand. It's not, all these random fake Facebook profiles. Like I think there's very few fake LinkedIn profiles. Yes. There may be a lot that aren't used, but again, if you can be, you said you pay attention to Gary Vee, like something he was saying was the organic reach and the kind of momentum of LinkedIn and TikTok are really special right now. It's like early Facebook days. So having that space, putting that time in on LinkedIn with the decision makers, with the people that are actually in the market for stuff and have buying power, that's super powerful.
Oh yeah. And I've embraced TikTok late in a few weeks. I'm gonna listen, I never thought I would, right? I'm 52 years old, all right? I found my niche on LinkedIn. But
yeah.
You know what? I was new to LinkedIn and didn't know what I was doing, and look what I've done.
Exactly.
And I understand TikTok now. I totally get it because I've watched enough content of people that do something similar to what I do. Now I get it. And over time, we'll see.
You gotta
It's that Malibu beachfront property before it's Malibu.
That's right. That's right.
I love it. That's awesome, man. This has been fantastic. I appreciate all the insights, and I always name the podcast like David teaches us because you teach me. I'm gonna now up my hashtag game on LinkedIn and get into those comments and start building that out. So I appreciate your time. Where can people find you? Do you have any kind of freebies to give out? Like what do you got going on right now?
Yeah, sure. So that's easy. Freebies. I want to provide people with my like resume do's and don'ts because just a little PDF because people don't understand that some of those could be causing them not to get that call when they apply for a job. And some of them are really, really simple. And then the best thing, best place for people to find me obviously is over on LinkedIn.
Who knew?
Yeah, who knew, right?
Yeah. So David Alto on LinkedIn, go ahead and connect with him and